Prologue. Maggie was upset at the universe. She thought that she had finally had a chance to escape the confines of the Moons of Taro, and messed it up. All her life, her home had been in Taro's capital city, and the only major port of Choiseul. Taro was in the Old Kingdom section of the star nation of Yamato. Taro was poor. It was not just that you could not go to a good college type of poverty, but the kind where people died from lack of medicine. Modern technology and medicine could do amazing things, but only if you could afford them. Taro was on the backside of nowhere. All the wonders in the galaxy might as well have been magic or cheap science fiction to Maggie. In her short life, she had seen too many of her friends and relatives die of preventable diseases, heavy metal contamination in their food, toxic water, bad air, inadequate radiation shielding, or some lethal mix of any of those things. Maggie had an appointment that day, and, for good or bad, it would be the last one like it. She was scheduled to take a test that would determine her entire future, but she knew she was not ready. She was absolutely convinced that she would fail. The very universe seemed to laugh at her, because it was April 1st, 5696, April Fool's Day. Her tiny shoulders were hunched as she sat at the bus stop and waited for the tram to take her to the Navy recruiter's office. At 18 years old, barely 41 kilograms in her shoes, and 154 centimeters tall, she was a little scrap of nothing in a big, uncaring universe. The bus stop was in front of St. Augustine's. She had attended church at St. Augustine's for as long as she was alive. The sounds of the small port city were a constant white noise of bonks and beeps, snaps and slaps echoing down the roadway. The smell of fresh bread and cookies wafted from the little bakery nearby, but Maggie was in no mood to be cheered or soothed by the sights and smells that should have comforted her. She knew she should go in to buy just one cookie from the baker Ramil and his wife Eeya, but she would not let chocolate soothe her fears. Her big light brown eyes were free from tears. Her bow-shaped lips were not creased with a frown, but her normally cheerful face had a faraway stare that kept anyone from striking up a conversation with her. Maggie watched as Eeya, the baker's wife, walked out with a tray of cookies. Eeya was only a few months older than Maggie and had gone to St. Augustine's with her. Now Eeya was radiant. Her little hand rested on her noticeable baby bump. Sister Mary from the school, right on time, led a small procession of children to Eeya. Sister Mary had done the same for Maggie when she was that age. Maggie watched and just imagined what her mom would say to her. What would Maggie do when everything came crashing back down to reality? Her mom fussed at her to just find a nice boy and have some kids. All her friends were pregnant or had at least one kid by the time they were her age. It was the drudgery of that future life that she wanted to run from. She loved her family, but they continually tried to crush her hopes and dreams. Maggie wanted to see the universe, or at least more of it than an occasional flight out to prospect an asteroid. Maggie felt she had no one left at home to confide in. Her twin brother Alan had run away 2 years ago. Alan had told no one of his plans to escape from Taro. The day after their 16th birthday, he had enlisted in the Marines. A short month later, he had been shipped off to basic training. He sent messages home to her, but he had changed. Alan was no longer a little boy. He had grown up, and he looked so handsome in his Marine dress uniform. Maggie envied him. After she saw Alan in his uniform, Maggie made up her mind. She buckled her courage down tight and did the unthinkable for a girl from Taro, and 1 year later, on March 23, 5695, her 17th birthday, Magdalena Annette Leone enlisted in the Yamato Navy. The year since then had opened her eyes to so much. There had been so much to do and see. Maggie had met many people all over Taro. Then, somehow, it went terribly wrong. At least it would soon be over. No matter what happened in the next few hours, Maggie knew that she had passed the point in her life from childhood to adulthood. There was no going home.